Hey Islanders, welcome back to another video. I'm going to keep the intro short and sweet on this one, and I want to take a moment to thank everybody who subscribed on my last video, and I also want to thank you all for the 16,000 views that I was not really expecting at all. I honestly wasn't expecting that video to get more than like 5k views or something, so beating the 10k mark was really huge, and I really appreciate every single one of you for watching that video. I put a lot of effort into most of my videos, and I try to keep them pretty high quality, so it really means a lot to me that I actually get something back from it, and I get to entertain you guys in the process. So without further ado, I'll be playing Pachy today. Enjoy the video. Alright guys, so I spawn in the northeastern jungle, and I pick my first mutation. As always, we're going to go for congenital hypoplegia as our first mutation to take less damage from things like Carnivores. And right after that, we're going to make our way towards the sanctuary. After a pretty quick sprint, I made it to the sanctuary, and I wasted no time looking for mushrooms, as that will be the way to obtain 260% growth rate as a juvenile, just by continuously eating them. Alright, so after skimming the outskirts of the sanctuary for just a little bit, I was able to find my first batch of mushrooms, and I got straight to eating. And what you want to do basically is you want to eat till your stomach's full of mushrooms, and as soon as you see your stomach just deplete slightly, which you'll see me do here, you eat the next mushroom. Your stomach's going to start blinking. That's when you stop eating. But after some time, that means your stomach's full, right? So after some time, that meter will drop and you'll have more space in your stomach, and you just have to continuously eat them one after the other. That way, you'll receive 260% growth rate by the time you're sub-adult, and you won't have to worry about food until you basically find your migration zone or your patrol. Fast forward about 20 minutes and I'm already a sub-adult, and I'm still doing that strategy in the sanctuary with the mushrooms. Since mushrooms are still on my diet, I can still use that to my advantage. As you see here, I check my screen. I don't have mushrooms on my diet anymore. I'm too big to be in sanctuary. So I go to the watering hole, get some water, and I make my way to my patrol. I spent some time in the patrol looking for my diets. I found dots in S, but there was no lines, so I grabbed a piece of S and I made my way into highlands. By the way, I won't skip much of the traveling portion just because I want most of you to see how I use certain shortcuts to get into highlands, especially to avoid things that are larger like predators and stuff like that. Alright guys, so here I made it to highlands and I heard a Pachy call in the distance, so I made my way over to the dam. I made it to the dam, and after wandering for a while, I was able to find the Pachy eventually. We two called and joined each other as a group, and we were now a little herd of 2 Pachys. I was no longer solo, and now I had company. We hopped into the ravine, and we used it to make our way into West Trail. Just as we were about to reach the exit of the ravine, I saw blood on the road, and I thought a carnivore might be nearby. We also saw blood near that cave in the wall, and we saw a small dilo hiding in there. So we decided to take care of business before business would take care of us. Bird was concerned at first that the dilo might have been an adult, but I assured him that it was a subadult, and he went in there and took care of business. Unfortunately, the little guy was stuck in there with Bird, who was just thrashing him around and throwing him everywhere, and he ended up dying. After taking our time, we finally made it to Westrail, where we could find a plethora of our diets, and that's where we topped up and made sure that we were full. We also decided to stick around here for some time, as we knew that Westrail was a pretty popular spot, which means we would get a little bit of action to showcase the capabilities of the Pachycephalosaurus. Nighttime eventually arrived, and we were beginning to thirst, so we went to the pond for water. We were initially concerned that there would be a croc in there, but I wasn't too worried. I just kind of started drinking. And just as I started drinking, I got jump scared by this stego that came to the water. Bird wasn't going to trust it, but I was like, listen bro, watch this. And I just went over there, and I drank right in front of the stego, and I was perfectly fine. Every moment drinking next to that beast was a risk that I could lose all my progress, but I didn't care. Sometimes you have to be brave to get what you want in life. After getting our drink, I spotted this small dilo by the mud pit, and I decided to chase him. Yeah, after getting a couple good hits, I ended up losing him in the bushes, and I was unable to find him for some time, so I went back and met up with Bird. After checking back the footage, I realized that there was actually 2 dilos back there, and I managed to leg break one of them, but since they were both so close, I was fixated on only one of them, and I kinda lost the other. Yeah, it kinda sucked. I had a feeling that wasn't gonna be the last that we'd see of those dilos, and my feeling was right as I saw one run right past us here. Unfortunately, he ran up the same way the last dilo did, and I ended up losing him in the bushes. So, I had to bail, otherwise it would have been a waste of my time. We made it back up the trail and we got some diets again. We found some small herd of like a stego and a dibble. I was trusting them, but Bird wasn't. Until I went and grabbed the piece, told him it was safe, and he went and grabbed the piece as well. We spent some time here topping up on our diets and eating some of the local fruits. Eventually Bird grew to trust the herd and we decided to stick with them for a little bit. After turning this bush, I saw this dilo appear out of nowhere, so I went after it. After knocking him over, I saw his friend in the distance, keeping his distance just in case. Which is smart of a dilo, because any hit from a Pachy could mean certain death, especially if it breaks your legs. They opted for stalking us from a distance, that way they could be safe in the bushes. After contemplating our options, I told Bird that they probably weren't the best players and we decided to go in. I was able to kill one of the dilos, but not without suffering some damage of my own. I had clones on me, and I was envenomated, and so I had to try and survive to the best of my ability. I was lucky to get away with my life. I was in the red, and I need to sit down and heal. We moved downhill a bit and continued some healing behind this tree. Before eventually deciding to go back down to the mud pit, where we saw a group of Saras. Bird was eager to fight them, but I, on the other hand, was honestly too scared to go in because vomit sickness could be a real big issue when it comes to these guys. Plus, they do a lot of damage per bite, so I wasn't about to risk it, but Bird had broken the legs of the smaller ones, so we were down to give it a try. After a brief standoff, we decided it wouldn't be worth it, and we made our way out of there. We decided it would be better to spend some of our time healing in the bushes, rather than go out and try to fight and take more damage. After spending some more time healing, we met up with Player, and he joined our little herd. We ate together, and we went to South Plains. Upon arriving to South, Player, Bird, and I split paths. Me and Bird took one side of the river, whereas Player crossed over to the other. We encountered this friendly dibble, and Player had a carnivore on his side. We let Player know where the Cardinal was, and he avoided him as he made his way down to the waterfall, where he crossed right back over to our side. Player then got jumped by a theisle, so we had to run back down and help him out. But by the time Bird and I arrived, Theisle was already limping and on his last leg, quite literally. So he decided to sit down and give up, and we basically made him our pet for a little while. Unfortunately, our fun was short-lived as we saw two cardinals approaching us from the distance, so we had to get on the defensive. we finished them off just like that, and we logged off for the night as server restart was about to happen. I came back later and I was solo this time, and I didn't stick around south for too long, so I went down to West Rail. And while I was on the trail going up to Migration, I saw this theisle walking down, so I went and hid in this bush to ambush him. I chased him down the trail and eventually into the open, where we engaged into a fight. Since he was smaller than me, I went in full confidence and I tried my best to hit him, but I think I was on 60 ping, so that's probably why most of these hits were lagging and he wasn't really actually getting knocked over. He was just getting hit in the tip of the tail, so I wasn't doing much damage, and eventually he was able to get venom on me, and the tables had turned at that point. And just like that, I went from being the hunter to the hunted, and I had to defend myself. I ran away as fast as I could, knowing that if I didn't find a place to fight these clones off alone, I'd be toast. I thought that trying to get behind the clones and hitting them from the side or the back would help, but it would still do damage to me and it was no use, so I had to find a different strategy. I tried face tanking the clones as Packy usually takes less damage to the head, but it still didn't work. I was still taking significant damage, so I still had to find somewhere else to be. And that's exactly when I found this slope in the rocks. It was perfect, as when I saw one of the clones spawn in, it spawned inside the rock, and therefore it couldn't reach me, so my thinking was I could get on the rock and sit down and heal. But while I wasn't looking, one of the clones managed to sneak up on the rock and hit me, and I was starting to get really low on health. But luckily I was able to get really lucky, and I lost the venom eventually, and I didn't see any more clones. I saw this dibble in the distance and I called him over, and he was friendly. He decided to sit down and just guard my body while I healed. Lucky me, after I was going to get water, I spotted the theisle again, and you know what they say, what goes around comes around. And I gave him his beating right back to him, sent him running. I chased him down into the forest, but lost him eventually out the turn of a corner, so yeah, that was that. So I got my drink and I found some Dilos fighting right after, and I joined. After hitting him once, he started running, and he wouldn't stop running, and since he was a juvenile and I wasn't, he had more stamina than I did, and he was slightly faster than me, so I decided that chasing him wasn't going to be worth it, and I let him go. So instead, I joined some dibbles while they were eating some fruits, and I decided to grab some for myself, as I needed lines. After that, I made my way up into highlands, and I started taking the ravine to get to the lake. And while I was on the trail, I looked behind me and I saw a pretty big ceratosaurus coming my way, so I booked it. I got to the end of the trail and I met up with Dibble, and we decided to set up an ambush for when the cerato came by. We would both be able to attack it and potentially even kill it. We set up our ambush and we waited for some time. It took about a couple minutes, but the cerato eventually came through. The Dibble ran out first in an attempt to keep the cerato on its toes, as I made my move trying to break its legs. Unfortunately there, I got caught off guard and I got hit with an alt bite and vomited, as well as my teammate hitting me by accident. With the Dibble keeping the cerato busy, I could still go back into a bush and heal at least. Not too long after having sat down, I decided to go for a drink to refill my water since I had vomited. But right as soon as I touched the water, I got grabbed by this dino, and yeah. Luckily though, I had a backup Pachy on another server, so I didn't have to hop off, technically speaking. So yeah, here's more gameplay I got with another Pachy. As soon as I spawned in, I saw like a group of Dilos and I just did away with them pretty quickly, honestly. Luckily for me, the back break on the big one ended up running him out of stamina eventually, and I was able to get an easy kill. After that little scuffle, I went and got me some well-earned food. And I also slept the night in a bush, so I didn't have to worry about Dilos. I also made it up into Highlands where I teamed up with my friend Tino. We decided to stalk this group of Cerratos straight out the ravine. Eventually, we lost them over the turn of the hill, and we lost them in the bushes, so I had to go in and find them. And just as I was walking by, I heard his footsteps. I couldn't even get a fracture, and things weren't looking too good for me, so my teammate came in to try and do some damage for himself. Unfortunately, when I was trying to go in for another hit, he got his first and made me vomit, so I tried running away. They were chasing me down, and the mud wasn't working because it was raining. So, my bleed ended up stopping and I got lucky, so I went and sat in a bush and healed. After healing my vomit sickness, I started eating to heal because this Pachy actually had eat to heal, whereas my last one had tactile endurance, which only increases my stamina when I get hit. So it was very convenient to be able to heal while eating, and after that I got a sip and I went back. After finishing my sip, we went and crossed the ravine and we came across this Omniraptor, who we decided to mess with. Knowing that we had a body break on him, we started to run him down, because we knew that eventually he would run out of stamina and he'd be all ours. Over here I tried to calling him and letting him know that I wasn't going to kill him if he didn't give me a reason to, but he didn't want to give up and he would have rather gone down a warrior, and I respected it. So we went back down to the highlands lake, and as I was taking a sip, this small dino tried attacking me. But I saw him coming, and I sent him right back in the water. Right after that, I joined my friend as he had found the Cerratos again, and this time there was a galley fighting them. Unfortunately, there were 3 Seratos this time, and as difficult as they are to fight, we decided to not take it, and we went to get water for my friend Tino here. And as he was drinking, he got attacked by the croc again, who was willing to fight us for some reason, so we went over there and gave him a piece of our minds, quite literally. So the grab got me slightly weak and I wasn't yellow, so I went to dig up this roots and try to eat to heal. And while I was doing that, behind my back, Tina was able to kill the croc. I still don't know why a croc of his size would challenge us on land, but he ended up getting exactly what came to him. And after that, we left and went back to the Seratos. The Seratos were still fighting the Gallimimus, and my health was still not the best per se, and not like I could really do much against Seratos anyways, so I sat down and watched as I continued to heal. By the looks of it, this time they were mixed packing with a Stego, and I wasn't able to sit for long as I got ambushed in the back, so I had to run. We were able to separate one from the pack here and get a couple decent hits in. After getting hit with vomit sickness, I decided not to fight full-grown Seratos again. Nightfall came and I started to stalk this group of 2 Dilos. I really wanted to ambush them and catch them off guard as they would be surprised, especially if I were to get a leg break on one of them. But as soon as I got a hit on one of them, they started running away and we started chasing them. After chasing them around the landscape for some time, I started to run low on stamina, and by low I mean to the 60 mark, and I didn't want to run below that, so I stopped chasing them. We then split up and I encountered them later up on the path, and they ambushed me from the bushes. So I was alone and I had to defend myself. I started by breaking one's back and sent him running, while the other one tried his best to get a bite on me. He was trying to run me down on stamina, and when I realized that, I went to this rock where he couldn't get behind me, and I just stood still, trying to regain my stamina. After realizing that himself, he decided to leave, and I didn't see from them again. And as my friend was on his way over to help me, since I called it out that I had 2 dilos on me, he said he saw a small Serato, and that's when we got into a fight with this Serato right here. And with his body down, we wasted no time going on to the next one. Tino was fighting a slightly bigger sub Serato up the hill, so I joined him and I helped him kill it. It was so dark I could barely see anything, but I was still able to locate him using his footsteps. And with Tino getting the finishing blow, I went and sat in this bush and healed. He then hopped off and I was solo once again. So I had made my way down to the Westral Pond and I had heard a Dilo drinking down at the water. Thinking that the Dilo was just solo, I thought, oh, this might be an easy kill. I can go down there, you know, he'll be easy. But to my very unfortunate awakening, I saw that not only were there 1 Dilo, not 2, but 3. And I wasn't trained yet in fighting 3 Dilos. You know, 1, easy, 2, possible, but 3, I don't know, man. I tried making a run to the log, but to be honest with you, I missed my jump and I ended up dying. And yeah, that was the end of my Pachy gameplay. If you made it this far, I just want to take a moment to thank you for watching to the end of the video, and if you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, since only about 8% of people that watch my channel are subscribed, so it would be nice to see that number go up between here and like the end of the month probably. I really just have a goal of getting to at least 1,000 subscribers by the end of December, and that would honestly just be amazing if it could happen. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a happy holiday. And stay tuned for Maya videos. I'm going to be uploading like probably weekly when Maya drops, so stay tuned for that. Peace.